his first game back on the top.
Something like that,
But,
yeah. I think it was like he was in Colorado or wherever he's from, I think. And it was in a game in Colorado, I think, is when he ended up getting in there and scoring. And
it's just one of those things where you have to you got to build a team not just for the GM's view, but also how the coach is planning to use the player.
Yeah,
like this just felt like, I hate to say it, but now I really look back at it, it felt like about a bunch of like the Moneyball situations where they're like, you're gonna play Hattenberg at first. No, not gonna do it. Like that's what it felt like. And I maybe Tyson Barrie wasn't the defenseman the Leafs needed, really, because they had Morgan Rielly in terms of like that offensive defenseman on the right side.
Yeah, but how long did the Maple Leafs and like the fan base clamor for a puck-moving right-handed defenseman?
True.
Like the Leafs, like everyone's been clamoring that for years. It's like, can't remember the last time the Leafs had a strong puck-moving right-handed defenseman, and that's what was dominating the league at the time, right? So that's what everybody wanted to see. So they made it happen. So Kyle Dubas made it happen. He made a trade. Sent Nazem Kadri the other way, and that was, keep in mind, after 2 straight playoffs where he had gotten himself suspended and really cost the team. So the trust factor with Kadri and the Leafs at the time was frayed, but they brought back what was considered a good puck-moving defenseman. Like, look, the 2 years prior to getting to Toronto and Colorado, this guy was pretty solid. Actually, realistically, like 5 years of like top pair, power play, quarterback type numbers. From 14-15 to maybe 18-19, he had 53 points, 49 points, had a down year with 38 points, but only played 74 games that year. And then he had 57 points and 59 points, 14 goals, 45 assists, career high 59 points the year before getting traded to Toronto. So after 14 goals, 59 points, he got 8 points in 12 playoff games for the Avalanche that year. Dubas looked at that and said, hey, we could use that. We could use that production from the back end on the blue line, and decided to make that deal, make that swap. And I'll be honest, at the time, I was not a hater of the deal. I know that this is a polarizing topic and conversation. At the time, although I didn't like moving on from Kadri, just because you have one of the best center depths in the NHL with Matthews, Tavares, Kadri. He was a heart and soul guy. He was someone who gave you a little piss and vinegar when the other guys very monotoned on the ice. Like, you moved out a lot of personality and identity when you traded him. Looking back, you notice that. At the time, it's like, hey, we've got kind of a glut of centers. They really need some defensemen. Like, outside of Morgan Rielly, this team had nobody on the back end. There's no one there, realistically. I think they had just gotten Jake Muzzin into the fold the year prior, so it was like really just Jake Muzzin, and that was kind of it. So they bring him in, and it just doesn't work out. Only ends up scoring 5 goals in 70 games, 39 points. He was down 20 points from the year prior in Colorado, scored 9 less goals than he did the year prior in Colorado, and then went pointless in 5 games in the playoffs for the Maple Leafs. So not a strong season for Tyson Barrie with the Maple Leafs, and certainly one that a lot of Leaf fans look at and have regret with. Kerfoot didn't really pan out to be much of anything either. Like, he was okay. He was an NHLer.
Had that one goal in the playoffs, and you and I will always remember watching together.
Yeah, he did have that one goal in the playoffs, and he was a decent player in the playoffs. He was a good role player, let's say, for the Maple Leafs. He can go up and down your lineup, but he's not someone that should have been considered like a top 6 player if you had a good team. And the Maple Leafs weren't that deep at that point, and they were kind of forced to play him up in the top 6 a lot. So that's where things kind of unfolded with the Kadri trade. The returns not so great, and it kind of just got worse and worse as Kadri went on to be a Stanley Cup champion, went on to be like a 70-point guy. Scored 38 goals last year, and it's like, man, could really use that in the Maple Leafs lineup right now to lengthen out this Leafs team, give them a little bit of that truculence, that Nazem Kadri, gave that when Brian Burke drafted him so many years ago. But here we are, years later, still kind of looking at that trade, thinking, man, what could have been, what should have been. And Tyson Barrie, the experience wasn't great here in Toronto. He never really found his foot. Well, that's not true, actually. After Toronto, went to Edmonton. He did have 3 straight 40-plus point seasons. Only once did he have double-digit goals. Again, 22-23 at 10 goals in 61 games. And then last year, only played 13 games in the NHL with Calgary, had 3 points in those 13 games, and then played 11 in the American League, had 5 points in 11 games, and decided, all right, that's enough. And Tyson Barrie hangs him up. So, good career, a good career, played over 800 games, over 500 points for Tyson Barrie, over 100 goals. That's pretty solid for a defenseman. But the 1 year in Toronto just did not go well, and was probably one of the worst years that he had. It was statistically pretty much the worst year that he had as a pro. Once he established himself as a full-time NHLer,
yeah, because we don't count that one with Calgary. That was he was on a PTO, throw something on the wall. But I initially I was kind of I thought maybe this would be exactly what the Leafs need to get that right hand shot defenseman, but it just never really panned out. Too bad, because during his time in Colorado, he was really good at scoring. Man.
He was a stud. He was like a winger. 14
goals, 13 goals. He could score double digit goals. And Leafs fans now probably would like a defenseman that can do that on this team.
They would have someone who could jump up and score a little bit more than what they're getting now. But again, that's not the identity of the current team. You talk about building the team to the coach. That's what they're doing now. The coach doesn't care about guys who can jump up and into the rush and score. The coach cares about defending your own net and being hard to play against. And that's what they've built. And Tyson Barrie, not that guy. He ain't that guy. And there's a lot of players out there, like an Erik Karlsson is a name that's been floated out there. Could the Leafs bring in an Erik Karlsson? He's not that guy either. I don't see that happening because it doesn't fit the mold of what this team wants to do and what Craig Berube wants to establish within the group. So I don't think we see any movement on the back end. Maybe there's still an opportunity for another addition in the forward group, but the blue line, I think, is pretty status quo. On the other side, let's get into the prospect ranking for the Maple Leafs, where they stack up against the rest of the league when it comes to their pipeline. We'll do that next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.